Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 24 of Arthas, Rise of the Lich King. 'Tis the end of the book, and what a great book it's been, so let's go! When Arthas trudged out into the light, finally exiting the ancient and deadly Nerubian kingdom, he knew two things. Firstly, he really hoped that the shortcut had bought him enough time to defend the Lich King. And secondly, he never, ever wanted to go back down into those tunnels ever again, because making his way through them had been a right ball ache. Almost immediately after entering the tunnels, Anub'arak, Arthas and their combined forces were attacked by spiders, and the ensuing battle was like a scene out of Starship Troopers or something. Why are they attacking us?
Many of us who fell during the War of the Spider were brought back to serve the Lich King. These ones, however, never died. They still fight to liberate Nerub from the Scourge.
Great, thanks for letting me know. And after that battle came many more battles. More revolutionary spiders, dwarves moaning about some ancient evil behind the door, faceless ones which were the ancient evil behind the door, and to top it all off, an earthquake that split the group up for a while. So all in all, Arthas gave the ancient kingdom of Azjol-Nerub 1 out of 5 stars and would not go again. However, they were now back on the surface, traipsing through thick snow and scouring winds, which wasn't much better to be honest. But eventually, they ascended a hill and could at last see the glacier in the distance, and the huge army that was waiting for them. Arthas' spirits lifted at the sight of so many assembled to fight for him and the Lich King, but beyond that army, further towards the glacier itself, Arthas could see other figures milling about, blood elves and fish snakes. Suddenly, for the 17th time or something, Arthas was hit with yet another pain attack. This one even more painful than the last one that had been even more painful.
My champion, you have come at last.
Master, sorry for taking so long.
There is a fracture in my prison, the Frozen Throne, and my energies are seeping from it. That is how your powers have diminished.
But why would someone attacking you cause my powers to weaken?
The Runeblade, Frostmourne, was once trapped inside this throne as well. I thrust it from the ice so that it would find its way to you, and then lead you to me.
Oh, okay. Makes sense, I guess.
Make haste, my champion. My creator, the Demon Lord Kil'jaeden, has sent his agents here to destroy me. If they get here before you, then we're both screwed. So bloody hurry.
Coldness then began to seep through Arthas. It was more energy, more power, than he'd ever known before. Frostmourne's runes blazed to new life, and so, grinning fiercely, Arthas gripped the blade and lifted it high. I know now what I must do. Illidan has mocked the Scourge long enough. It's time we put the fear of death back in him. Time to end the game, once and for all. For the Lich King! And so it was. The battle to end all battles until the next battle began. Arthas felt like a god as he swung Frostmourne through Blood Elves and Naga, and each soul it took only made him stronger. But, as Arthas glanced frantically around the battlefield, there was still no sign of Illidan. Was it possible he'd already gained entrance into the... Arthas! Turn and fight me, damn you! You will go no further, Butcher! Arthas was getting mighty tired of elves calling him Butcher. After you disappeared like a coward at our last confrontation, I'm surprised to see you here. Don't be upset that I stole Jaina from you, Kael. Let it go, and move on. After all, there's so much left in this world for you to enjoy. Oh wait, no there isn't! Damn you to hell, Arthas Menethil! You've taken everything I ever cared for. Kael'thas didn't waste any further time. He immediately shot a fireball at Arthas with his free hand, whilst lifting his staff with the other. And then, shards of ice started raining down on the Death Knight. The fireball had been a bit unexpected, but the ice shards had absolutely no effect whatsoever. You might want to think twice about attacking me with ice, Kael. Arthas wasn't being a douche for no reason. The key to magical manipulation is control. If Kael lost his temper, he will lose this fight. But also it was just fun to wind the loser up. Arthas then extended his hand and sent a dark ball of green energy towards his foe. Kael tried to move, but the attack was too swift, and his face went a shade paler. I took your woman. I held her in my arms at night. She tasted sweet when I kissed her, Kael. She loathes you now. You sicken and disgust her, Arthas. Arthas didn't like that. He hadn't really thought about how Jaina regarded him nowadays. Was that true? And a ball of fire then burst against his chest. His armour protected him from the flames, but he was still kind of annoyed. He'd allowed himself to get distracted like an idiot. I destroyed your homeland, fouled your precious Sunwell, and I killed your father, Kael. Frostmourne sucked the soul right out of him. It's gone forever. You're good at killing noble old men, aren't you? At least you faced my father on the battlefield. Must have made you feel real brave to cut down your own whilst he was trying to hug you. This tactic of trying to make Kael lose his temper was kind of backfiring on Arthas. He went into an all-caps rage and charged at Kael'thas, striking the elf's staff with Frostmourne over and over until it eventually broke. But Kael then just unsheathed another weapon. Recognise this blade, do you? I do. I saw it snap in two just before I killed your father. Well, I had it reforged. Reforged things are shit, elf. Human swords, perhaps. and video games, but when you reforge an elven sword with magic, and hatred, and a burning desire for revenge, they grow stronger than ever. Gale's next attack then came very suddenly. One minute he was rambling about his sword, and the next, Arthas was fighting for his life, and then slipped and fell, and Kael'thas lunged in. However, Arthas then recalled his dwarven trainer's favourite trick, the old kick someone in the belly technique, so he did that and sent the mage hurtling backwards. The Death Knight then flipped to his feet, strutted over, and put Frostmourne to Kael'thas' throat. She hates you. Arthas roared with fury and shoved his blade down with all his strength, but Kael'thas was gone, again, teleported away, like a coward. And although Arthas was angry, he knew he'd already wasted way too much time focused on the wrong foe. It was time to find Illidan and end this, but as he looked around, he still couldn't see the bugger. However, his attention was caught by the back of what looked like a Dreadlord, with big black wings and cloven hooves. I've defeated your kind before, Dreadlord. Turn and face me if you dare, or flee into the nether like the coward you demons are. The figure then turned slowly, revealing massive horns on its head, and a blindfold covering its eyes. Hello, Arthas. Illidan, you look different. Guess the Skull of Gul'dan didn't agree with you. On the contrary, I've never felt better. I suppose I should thank you, Arthas. You can thank me by sodding off then. Just leave, and never return. We both have our masters, boy. Mine demands the destruction of the frozen throne. It would seem we're at odds. Illidan then lifted his warglaives, and Arthas realised that this demonic night elf was probably not going to sod off, which was a shame. The fight with Kael'thas had taxed him a little bit, whilst Illidan showed no hint of weariness whatsoever. Your troops are either in pieces or part of my army. You'll end up one or the other. I'm stronger than you know, and my master created yours. Come, pawn. And so, another battle to end all battles before the next battle began. Arthas charged, Frostmourne glowed, and Illidan just smirked as he held his ground. The elf had indeed changed since absorbing the Skull of Gul'dan. For example, he was physically stronger. So much so that just a simple shove sent Arthas flying. But Illidan didn't even give Arthas a chance to fire back some sass. He was relentless. All the Death Knight could do was focus on parrying blow after blow from the Night Elf's glaives. But then, suddenly, Illidan was gone. What the bloody hell? Arthas then realised he could hear flapping overhead, so he looked up. These warglaives, the twin blades of Azeroth, belong to a powerful demon captain, one that I slew 10,000 years ago. How long have you wielded your pretty blade, human? How well do you know it? Illidan was obviously trying to unsettle Arthas, but unfortunately for him, his words actually invigorated the Death Knight. Frostmourne was not just a sword, it was an extension of Arthas himself. He knew it just fine, thank you very much. As Illidan dropped down, Arthas countered, and then felt it as Frostmourne bit deep into flesh, and smiled as the demon screamed in agony. But it wasn't over yet, because Illidan's body then seemed to shift and darken and grow, like he was going through some kind of metamorphosis or something. You gave me this gift, this power, and it will destroy you. The next thing Arthas knew, he was on his knees, and in quite a lot of pain. A beam of fellfire had shot right out of Illidan's eyes, and it burned. Even Frostmourne's glow had dulled. But as the fire faded, and Illidan swooped in, Arthas heard the ancient rune blade whisper a little bit of encouragement. Frostmourne was his, and he was its, and so united, they were invincible. Just as Illidan lifted his blades for the kill, Arthas lifted Frostmourne, and shoved it right into the bastard. Illidan then fell to the ground, his chest rising and falling in gasps, and blood gushing from him, and Arthas considered delivering a killing blow, but then decided to let the merciless cold of this place do it for him. There was a greater need burning in him now. He didn't know how he knew it, he just knew that something was about to fundamentally change. So he took a deep breath, steeled himself, and entered the cave leading towards the throne chamber of his master. Arthas' life then flashed before his eyes as he continued to approach, or key moments of it anyway. Moments he'd shared with Uther, and Jaina, and Muradin. But even with all these memories tugging at him, there was one voice that was stronger than all the others.
My moment of freedom comes, and with it, your ascension to true power. Return the blade, complete the circle, and release me from this prison.
This was the moment it had all been leading to. Arthas lifted Frostmourne, started to run towards the throne, and then roared as he swung the blade down with all his strength. The icy prison shattered, but weirdly, the armoured figure of the Lich King inside seemed to shatter as well, falling apart before Arthas' stunned gaze. It was empty. He stared down at the helm that was lying at his feet, and a deep shiver passed through him. All this time, had he been chasing a ghost? Had the Lich King ever really been here? Had this ghost he'd been chasing been himself? So many questions, so little answers. But one thing did seem clear to Arthas. Just as Frostmourne had been for him, so is this armour. So he bent down, picked up the helm, and then slowly lowered it onto his head. And then boom! The very essence of the Lich King pierced his heart and stopped his breath. And through closed eyes he saw everything. All that Azjol had known and seen and done. For a moment, Arthas feared that he'd be overwhelmed by it, that this had been nothing more than a trick for the Lich King to get himself a fresh new body. So he braced himself for a battle for control, but there was no battle, no struggle. Azjol wasn't taking over, simply merging.
Now, we are one.
Yeah, you bitch! And we're leaving it there! That's the end of the book. There is an epilogue, but we'll skip that, because I didn't do any of the interludes, so it wouldn't make any sense. The next video will be the supercut of this series, and then after that, I'll get started on Illidan. So hopefully that series will be a thing within the next couple of weeks. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book, and there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page there too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks, and all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!